I don't know how you found us, but I'm glad you did. It's the If It's Sports Podcast, episode number 15. Alright, this is Josh. I got my main man Trav here. Just getting back in the studios after a good holiday break.
Oh yeah, it's a good break. Glad to be back in the studio. Glad to get this next episode going. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, real good Thanksgiving. Everybody came over for dinner. We had the family here. Smoked that bird like I said we was going to do. Turned out real good. Kicked back 4 days of excellent sports this weekend. How about you, Trav?
Yeah, it was a good weekend. Got to kick back with the fam. Had a little smoked ham, a little deep fried turkey. Greatness. So, yeah, it was a good weekend, man. Glad to get back. Going to get into a lot of sports we got coming up here. We got a great weekend of college football ahead of us. We just left a great weekend of college football. We're going to get into some NFL talk today. We'll get into a little NBA talk. And we're going to get into a little interview we had with our man Mister Jennings.
Mister, yeah, everybody that was a big ETSU fans, they know that name.
Yeah, so we'll play a little bit of that interview for you guys. So let's go ahead and get into college football week 13. Just a quick recap.
All right, Trav, first game we got to talk about was the Iron Bowl. It was one that a lot of people had Alabama as the favorite. I think there was a guest picker on College Game Day, Charles Barkley. He said that didn't have to worry about this. Auburn was going to go ahead and take care of business.
He called it.
He called it, and they did. They did. They took care of business. This really wasn't even a close game. Auburn didn't leave anything to worry about.
Yeah, it really wasn't a close game. Not as close as the score indicated it was, and I think like we've talked about in previous episodes, we kind of had different opinions on this. You felt like if Hurst ever did get down by more than a couple touchdowns, it was going to be hard for him to throw every down. I kind of disagreed with you. I thought he had it in him, but after this week, he definitely showed me he needs to work on that standing in the pocket and delivering that football.
He didn't have it in it this game. Only about 112 yards passing, 54% completion. He only had 17, I think, completion attempts. You know, they needed to throw the ball a little bit more. They needed to show that they could throw the ball a little bit more. You know, they had a couple big plays passing, but it was mostly their rushing game. Now Hurts, he did get loose on the ground a little bit. I believe he had close to 100 yards on the ground. But yeah, I mean, Auburn, they're just playing really good right now. I think probably the last 8 weeks, you'd say they're the best team in America. At least I would say that they're the best team in America right now.
Yeah, definitely. That Auburn D-line, man, they're just so big and fast, and they continually applied pressure to Hurts, like you said, and they forced him to throw the ball once Alabama got down by a couple scores. So I think Hurts only finished up with about 177 yards throwing through the air. But the thing that really stood out to me was the way that Kerryon Johnson ran the football.
Yep.
I mean, he was a beast. This guy had 30 carries. I mean, that's a workhorse-like effort right there. He had 104 yards. So even though he did get injured towards the end of the game, I think he said he will be ready to play this weekend in that SEC championship game. So just a great effort by him and just all around by that Auburn offense and defense.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn's got 2 losses on the year, but they are going to be playing in that SEC championship game. You know, I think with Auburn's schedule, to have 2 losses on there, that's about as good as you could expect. I mean, the schedule makers were brutal to them this year. You know, they played Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, LSU. I mean, just tough teams week in and week out to get up and try to face. So coming out of some of those big games with only 2 losses on the year, very impressive. They'll be matching up against Georgia in the SEC championship game. Now, one team that's not going into their championship game on a hot streak, that's the Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah, Miami came out and it looked like they were just playing not to lose that football game. And then you had Pitt on the other hand with the freshman quarterback. They just came out and played to win. They came out like they didn't have anything to lose, and it showed up on the field, and they came out with the victory over the Hurricanes. So just a big win by the Pitt Panthers there.
Definitely. And you kind of hinted at it last show. You said it was an early start. You said it was at Pittsburgh. It was going to be some colder weather.
Colder weather.
One thing that we really hadn't talked too much about that Miami team, they're young. They're freshmen and sophomores, so they're really overperforming this year as to what a lot of people expected they should be doing. So you finally saw one game, I think, where the youth showed and they just weren't up to play. Pittsburgh took advantage of it.
Definitely. Miami quarterback Rozier, kind of had a mediocre type game. Had some plays here and there, but when it came down to it, they turned the ball over, which is unlike them the last few games, something they hadn't really done a lot of, and they just didn't force those big defensive plays like they had been doing.
Yep.
Turnover chain wasn't in really heavy rotation.
Not this game, nope.
Not this weekend. So they did come up with the big onside kick late in the game. Kind of got a little momentum there, but just not enough time left, and then just couldn't get it done there in the end.
No, that loss, they're still atop their division in the ACC, so they're going to face Clemson. Big game coming up there. That'll have some huge implications.
Huge.
We'll get into that a little bit later. Now, one team that I've been on all season long, I've been talking about they're undefeated, give them some love. This was probably, in my eye, the most entertaining game all weekend there. South Florida versus UFC. 49-42 shootout came down to basically who had the ball last, but these quarterbacks are making the plays all over the field.
Definitely, Josh. These guys made some plays late, and it was back and forth. It was just a crazy ending there. I would say the lead changed, 3 or 4 times in the last 3 or 4 minutes of that game.
It did. If you really like defense, this probably wasn't the game for you.
No, defense was optional in this game.
It was like an NBA game pretty much on this, but they was going up and down the field there. Quarterbacks were rushing the ball. Quarterbacks were passing the ball, looking really sharp. It was a good game. Hate to say it, but it's probably the two best teams outside of Miami playing in the state of Florida this year.
Pretty much.
So, but yeah, that was a huge win. UFC stays undefeated. They're going to face Memphis in their championship game. Now, one that we kind of highlighted, wanted just to take a quick look at there, Notre Dame versus Stanford. This was a must-win for Notre Dame if they even wanted to consider themselves in the playoff picture, and they just didn't get it done there.
Did not get it done. Lost that one 38-20. That's off 21 points in the fourth quarter by Stanford. So Stanford just kind of wore Notre Dame down in that fourth quarter and put up those 21 points on them, and just did not look good for Notre Dame after the way they started the season and compared to how they're finishing this one out.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting if Notre Dame had 2 losses. Some drama plays out in the championship games there, and they're setting, for the playoff. But we don't have to worry about this year. Pretty much Notre Dame is out of it. Now, the game took place this weekend. It was the Big Ten East rivalry. It was Ohio State taking on Michigan up at the Big House. Ohio State got it done.
Ohio State got it done. It was definitely rocking in the Big House. Jim Harbaugh and the boys came out. They played tough, but seems like I don't know what it is about Ohio State. They just always find a way to win.
They do. Harbaugh's had a hard time beating some of his rivals.
Yeah, he's hasn't beat Urban Meyer yet.
Not yet. I don't know how long of a leash you get there at the Michigan program if you're not beating Ohio State. So he's definitely going to have to get a win pretty soon here. But, what can you say with Ohio State? They were down, about to the end of the third quarter there. Quarterback goes out, had a knee injury. Did you see how he actually got his knee hurt in this game?
Yeah, I think, what did he get hurt on the sideline by a cameraman or something, ran into him?
Yeah, a cameraman bumped into him. He had a knee injury going on, kind of tweaked it. Now, Barrett played throughout some of the game, but he just wasn't feeling too good. Their backup came in. But that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think I heard Urban Meyer tonight. He said there will be no human beings near their sideline this week.
He was not happy about that. Said the sidelines were too crowded.
Yeah.
And there was some video on TMZ of him actually getting bumped on that and the dude just taking off on there. So, but I don't think it was intentional. I think it was accidental, but you hate to see anything like that affect it. I guess we have to talk about this game. We are Florida State, Florida fans. It's usually a meaningful game. And I'll let you go ahead and talk all the trash that you want because Florida State pretty much destroyed the Gators this year.
They did put it on you guys. The Seminoles did put it on the Gators. Not really a lot of trash that I can really talk based on our, 5-win season at this point.
Yeah, neither one of us are going bowling.
No, well, I don't know.
You think
maybe a 6-win this weekend at Louisiana Monroe might get us bowl eligible.
Okay.
So
okay.
There is still hope that the Seminoles could get their I think they're still leading for most consecutive bowl appearances.
Okay, all right.
So we want to keep that streak alive. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was a good game. Florida State pulled it out there. Blackman looked decent. It was just a good win. We got 2 defensive scores, kind of helped us out.
Yeah.
So Florida's offense is struggling right now. So once we got the lead, it was pretty tough on the Gators to do anything after that.
While we're still here on our team, so let's go ahead and talk about that. Now, there's still some heavy rumors out there that Jimbo's going to be going to Texas A&M. You see this playing out?
It is possible. Word is that he is looking for a standalone football facility. He wants his program to be top in the country, whether it's at Florida State or Texas A&M. So I think that is one of the major selling points that Texas A&M's kind of hitting him with right now. So it is possible. It has been rumored that they have made a very lucrative offer to Jimbo Fisher, so we'll just kind of have to wait and see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. If you're really wanting to win national championships, I think you stay at Florida State. You've got an easier path to there. If you go to Texas A&M, you're going to have to go up against Saban, so that's going to make it tough there. But I think Texas A&M can throw a little bit more money at you. Anything I see, it's probably a play by Jimbo to get a little bit more money on his contract, maybe a little bit more commitment from the administration on upgrading the Florida State facility.
Facilities at play, money's at play. So not really much expansion that can take place at Florida State from what I've heard. That campus is pretty full right now with it being right there in the middle of the state capitol. So we'll have to wait and see what can happen with that.
My boys, we went ahead and locked it down. We talked about Chip Kelly coming in last week.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
But we did get Dan Mullen.
You were sad for a few days.
Yeah, I was a little upset there. I mean, I'm not crazy about Chip Kelly after he left Philadelphia. That there is some bad blood there. But I was intrigued by him having the resources at Florida, the whole state of Florida to recruit. What could that offense do? But I think for the long-term viability of the program, Dan Mullen's going to be a better hire. He's a little bit younger, a little bit hungrier. Knows the state of Florida really well. Has developed some good quarterbacks. So I think overall it's just a good hire.
So yeah, he does have a history at Florida. He did coach under Urban Meyer while he was there at Florida. He did, like you said, develop Tebow. So he is known for developing QBs. So that would be a good fit. I feel like that's a good fit for y'all.
Right. Now, we're talking about it now, but we've just kind of scratched the surface on this. The coaching carousel, the craziness that's around coaching, it's really been almost as interesting as the on-the-field product to me. I mean, we saw UCLA, they landed Chip Kelly that we just talked about.
Jim Moore Jr.'s out.
He's gone. Jim Moore Jr.'s getting paid. $12 million buyout for him. He gets to go home, take it easy for a little while. In comes Chip Kelly. I kind of heard that Under Armour made a huge push. They wanted Kelly to be the face of their football program there, so they was able to throw a little bit of incentive for there. So, and I think if you want to win, UCLA's a good chance there. Pac-10 defenses aren't as tough as SEC defenses. Talent-rich state there as well, so it's not a bad move for Kelly on that one. Oregon State, they filled their position there with Bo Baldwin. And then Ole Miss, they went ahead and got Matt Luke. He was their interim coach, so he's got hired. Now here's where the madness kind of begins. We touched on it a little bit. Texas A&M, they've got a job opening. They let Kevin Sumlin go. Kevin Sumlin is the big winner in all this. He gets a guaranteed $10.4 million in the next 60 days for letting go of him. I don't know how Texas A&M made that contract with him, that buyout clause on that, but that's unreal. 60 days they have to pay him $10.4 million, and then he's free to sign with any other team. Good coach. He'll land somewhere this year.
He's a big winner.
We'll go ahead and look at Arizona State. They're looking for a place. They've got to pay their coach $2.3 million, but it's spread out over a little bit longer. Nebraska, I think they're going to be going after Frost.
Scott Frost, yeah. Looks like he's going to be heading there.
Yeah, everything I'm hearing, everything I'm seeing on there, I think he's going there. Now,
he won the national championship with him.
I mean, it's a good match there. His family's still from there. He really knows that program. I think he would have been an interesting hire at Florida, another young guy there. But Frost is going to be a top-notch coach, and I think Nebraska should be happy if they land him. Kind of surprised that the rumors with him going to Tennessee just died off. He wasn't even in the picture. But this is a whole lot of mess at Tennessee right now.
Definitely a big mess. Call this a Tennessee fiasco.
I mean, I don't know how it can get any crazier. Last week we were talking about seeing John Gruden in a rib restaurant that they've got right beside the stadium in the back room talking to Peyton Manning. Now they actually make a hire. They hire Greg Schiano. The fan base definitely doesn't like the hire. And before all the ink is dry, before everybody signed their contract, he's basically gone.
Yeah, so it started out with, like you said, he's hired. Next thing you know, fan base is protesting. And this is all basically over the Penn State situation that happened there a few years ago with Sandusky and whatnot. So basically Tennessee fans don't want their coach anywhere, any linkage to that. So they're protesting that. They're painting on rocks up in Knoxville. So they basically stopped the whole thing from going down.
They have, and I just don't see how they're going to get somebody outside of the Tennessee world to come there now. Yeah. I really think their only hire right now is T. Martin.
Go T. Martin, go Peyton Manning. Go ahead and get.
I don't see Peyton Manning walking through the door. There was rumors today that Jason Witten was going to quit playing for the Cowboys and come coach that, but I think he squashed those rumors. So I mean, there's David Cutcliffe that's still out there at Duke. He's got some Tennessee ties, but I don't know. I mean, it's a mess. Now I think we're going to see more of this. This is the power of social media. Their fan base didn't like it. They took to Facebook. They took to Twitter. They let the athletic director know.
But is this a bad move by the AD at Tennessee to basically let the fans, social media boosters, and whatnot control who you're bringing in? I mean, you've already made this decision. You've already researched this coach. You know what he's about. Urban Meyer supports this guy.
Yep.
I mean, Urban Meyer's already called him an elite friend, an elite coach, just an elite person overall. And then now you got your fan base basically deciding who your next coach is. So can you bring in somebody else, like you said, not involved with the Tennessee program or ties to Tennessee, without the fan base basically protesting and deciding who your next coach is going to be?
I don't see how it's going to happen. I think Curry's pretty much signed his exit on this one. I mean, there's really no way that he's going to have any power over this, ongoing from here. I think they're going to continue their coaching search. You really can't fire your AD or have your AD leave during the middle of a coaching search like this. It'll set you back even further. But after they go ahead and hire a football coach, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an exit from Curry from the Tennessee program.
Yeah, Schiano actually signed some papers. The chancellor of Tennessee didn't sign the papers, but I think there's going to be some fallout over this, and I think Schiano could possibly still try to get paid out of all this.
Yeah, I mean, I heard earlier today that he's still wanting $20 million, or there's a possibility that there's $20 million at play. He wants to be paid for that. We'll have to see how that plays out. I mean, I think both sides just kind of need to cut ties and move on from this. Nobody's going to win either way. It's pretty bad, but let's get back to some on-the-field stuff. We've got Week 13. We had some good performers there. So Trav, how about a couple helmet stickers for this week?
My first helmet sticker's got to go to Kenny Pickett, the quarterback out of Pitt. He was able to take down undefeated Miami this weekend. He threw for 193 yards. Kenny also ran. He ran for 2 touchdowns and also threw for a touchdown. So just a big performance by him. And he's a freshman also.
Right, huge win for that program. Way to lead him.
Yeah, so he led them to a nice victory over undefeated Miami. My second one, I got to give it to Kerryon Johnson. I mean, that's my guy. He ran for 104 yards, and he threw a jump pass for a touchdown. So he carried it 30 times, put in that workhorse-type performance. And they basically laid it all on the line that night and came out with the victory over Alabama, injuries and all.
That's a huge win. Anytime you can beat Bama, for Auburn, it really makes their fan base happy. He becomes a legend overnight, just about.
Overnight legend right there. Who you got with your helmet stickers this week, Josh?
So I'm going to go ahead and give mine to the 2 quarterbacks from the most entertaining game that we had over the weekend. My first helmet sticker goes out in a loss to Quentin Flowers, quarterback, South Florida. He was a senior. He was trying to upset UCF in their perfect season. He had 503 yards passing, 4 TDs, 20 rushes on the ground for 102 yards and a touchdown, so 5 total touchdowns.
Balled out.
Yeah, he got it done. You hate to see him coming up short in a losing effort. But then there was Mackenzie Milton, quarterback for UFC. He's a sophomore, 373 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. 56 yards rushing, and a TD on the ground for him. So, I mean, both quarterbacks are accounting for 5 touchdowns. You know, you really couldn't ask for more from these players. So, both of those guys, they're getting my helmet sticker this week.
Nice stickers there. They both definitely balled out.
Now, as good as the football was during rivalry week, and, you know, it's hard to beat those rivalries, but we've got championship week coming up now. So 2 weeks in a row, there's going to be just some great football games on TV right now. Starting off on Friday, we've got Stanford at USC for the Pac-12 championship there.
Pac-12 championship, no playoff berth online for this game. Possibly a Fiesta Bowl, maybe a Cotton Bowl, or a Peach Bowl berth.
Rose Bowl maybe.
Maybe a Rose Bowl in there coming out of this game. But these are two teams that have played before. USC came out on top in that one, 42-24. USC is coming off a bye, so they are a little rested in this game. Stanford, you know, getting ready in a short week for this one.
Right.
So I'm going to still stick with Stanford in this one, Josh. I just feel like the quarterback from USC, Sam Darnold, he's just not been playing the best football lately. The last few games of the season, making a lot of poor decisions, turning the ball over. I just see Stanford going and getting this win. It's going to be played in Levi Stadium. Let's give it to Stanford.
I mean, I like Bryce Love. I've given him a lot of helmet stickers this year, but I think USC has the talent on defense to bottle him up. Then you make Stanford one-dimensional. That's not their strength, passing. So as long as they can contain Bryce Love, that's a big if, but I think they have the talent on defense to do that. I think we're going to see a lot of the same results that we saw in that first matchup. I'm giving this one to USC. They get the championship and a bid into one of the major bowl games.
Going into this next matchup, Josh, you better get your calculator out for this one because this is going to be a high-scoring event. Memphis and UCF. This one's going to be played. They're going to be playing for the American Athletic Conference Championship in this one. So both of these quarterbacks are explosive.
They are good quarterbacks.
I've already given a helmet sticker to one of these guys, Riley Ferguson, earlier in the season. Mackenzie Milton, they're both throwing for over 3,000 yards. They both got at least 30 touchdowns on the season. So, like I said, you're going to need your calculator to keep up with the score in this one.
Yep. Memphis has one loss on the season. That loss came from UCF. They were scheduled to play the first or second game of the year. They had the hurricane that came through Central Florida. They had to reschedule that for a couple of weeks back. But UFC handled them pretty good there. I think it was 14-13 or 40-13 in that game.
They did.
I'm going back with UCF. They're going to be my undefeated Cinderellas this year. I think they're getting no love whatsoever. You know, the program that Scott Frost has going on down there, undefeated. It's not the biggest conference in America, but Memphis, South Florida, they're pretty good teams. So if you beat Memphis twice on the year and you beat South Florida, you know, I'm going to give you some love. So I've got UCF in the win on this one.
I got to go with Memphis, Josh. Like I said, I've already gave a helmet sticker to Riley Ferguson, the quarterback from Memphis, and I think they're going to come in there and get it done. So I'm going to have to go against you on this one. I'm going to go Memphis.
All right. Well, let's go over to the Big 12 Conference. TCU in a rematch against Oklahoma. This game's going to be at 12:30 on Fox.
AT&T Stadium down in Jerry World.
Going to be a great environment there. You know, I think that's a perfect place to play a college game on that one. Oklahoma got TCU earlier in the season, 38-20. You give Gary Peterson time. That is scary with the defense that he runs. I think they could shut down Oklahoma's offense. But that's a lot of offense to shut down. Baker Mayfield's rolling. He's going to be your Heisman winner this year. I've got Oklahoma getting it done. They're winning the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, I've got to go with you on that one, Josh. It's going to be another shootout, but I feel like Oklahoma gets it done. Baker Mayfield's playing at a really high level right now. So I got to go with Oklahoma also on that one.
All right, so let's go from Dallas over to Atlanta, Georgia versus Auburn. This is going to be a great game. It's a rematch. But this is going to determine your SEC champion on the year. I don't see coming out of this if both, you know, whoever loses, I don't see that they can get into the playoff. Auburn is playing great football right now. It's hard for me to pick against them. I like Georgia. I think they're a young team. I think they got a bright future ahead of them. But I think this is Auburn right here.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. I mean, just a hard-nosed battle, SEC battle. Georgia with Nick Chubb and Fromm coming in there. It's going to be a battle. But like you said, Georgia's playing really good football right now, and it's going to be hard to go against them. We'll just have to wait and see on this one. I mean, it could really go either way.
All right. So non-committal pick there from you.
Yeah,
I like that one.
I'm not going to lock down on one team on this one.
All right. ACC, this could have been a huge matchup there with an undefeated Miami playing a one-loss Clemson. Now both teams got one loss on it. Pretty much, the winner of this game gets in. The losers going to the Orange Bowl or something like that. They didn't play during the regular season, so it's going to be the first time they're seeing each other. A young Miami team, that worries me a little. They didn't show up at Pittsburgh.
Miami better show up this game.
They've got to. Turnover chain's got to be out. They've got to get to Kelly Bryant, put pressure on him. I don't see it happening. I'm going with Clemson in this one.
I'm sticking with Clemson on this one too, Josh. But like we said, Miami better show up because Clemson could embarrass them in this game if they don't get off the plane.
That's definitely. There's going to be a lot of speed on the field in this game for sure. Now let's go over to where speed isn't the thing. That's going into the Big Ten Conference. We're going to have some power, smash mouth football. Ohio State taking on undefeated Wisconsin. Somehow they're undefeated. I think it's, the schedule gods were nice to them. Where Auburn had a tough schedule this year, Wisconsin probably got the easiest schedule, of any major school. They took advantage of it. They went into undefeated. They're going to take on Ohio State. I've got Ohio State taking care of business in this one.
Yeah, Ohio State's probably the favorite in this one. They definitely need a win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Don't sleep on Wisconsin, even though they've had a little bit weaker schedule than other people. They are the number 5 team in the country at this point. So I think it's going to be a hard-nosed battle. Let's just wait and see what happens in this one. I might have to go Wisconsin on this one.
Ooh, okay, all right. That would be huge. So the college football playoff polls, though they haven't come out yet. They come out tomorrow. But if I was having to pick right now, just based on where everybody is, this isn't who I think is going to get into it. But as of right now, I've got mine looking like this: Wisconsin number 1. I've made fun of their schedule and everything, but the fact is they're undefeated. It makes it easy to say they don't have any bad losses on the year. They're undefeated, so they're number 1. Number 2, I've got Oklahoma. Number 3, I've got Clemson. And number 4, I've got Alabama. Still can't argue with me that they're not the best team in the nation.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going off, best team and not just record. But Wisconsin's definitely not that number 1 team in the country. I'm not sure why you got them sitting there at number 1.
I'm a simple man. I just go simple logic. They're undefeated.
Yeah, based on their record. But like you just said, this is based on the best teams. And they're definitely not the best team in the country right there. I got to go number 1, Clemson.
Okay.
They're probably, the best team with the best record, playing the best teams. They've got a big win over Auburn. They did take that loss to Syracuse, which was on the road after they had lost their starting quarterback. So that's their only loss. So I got to put Clemson 1. I got to put Oklahoma and Baker Mayfield at 2. Wisconsin, I got them down at number 3. And then I got to put Auburn at number 4 because they got the head-to-head win over Alabama. So I can't really put Alabama at number 4 when Auburn's already beat them.
Okay, I respect that. And I think the playoff committee is going to have a lot of decisions to make. We'll see how they go. Now, as we look on the playoff bracket, let's say championship week has played out. What do you see your playoff bracket being after that?
After championship week, it's probably going to stay about the same because I feel like Clemson is going to beat Miami.
Okay.
I feel like Oklahoma is going to beat TCU.
Okay.
The only one that might be a little different is Wisconsin at number 3. If they win, of course, they're going to be there at number 3. If they lose, I almost got to move Alabama back up into that top 4. That is if Ohio State takes care of business, and they'll probably need a little help from TCU beating Oklahoma too to get to, for Alabama to get back up in there, in my opinion.
Okay, I don't see them needing that. I really don't. I think Oklahoma, they're going to get a good win over a tough TCU team. I put them at number 1. Number 2, Clemson, they're going to take care of business against Miami. They get that number 2 seed. Auburn beats Georgia. They lock in at that number 3. And number 4, I've got Alabama still staying there. They've got a loss that's recent, but I don't think you can penalize them for losing late in the season versus these other teams that have losses as well.
So Auburn with 2 losses and an SEC championship's not getting in.
I've got Auburn at 3, so I've got them staying in there. They've got the victory, 2 losses, they're in there. The teams that I'm not going to reward, I'm not putting Ohio State in there. Even if they beat Wisconsin, that's a game that they should win. Miami ends up with 2 losses. I've got to knock them out. And I need to see UCF in the top 10. Show them a little bit of love. Put them at 8 or 9. And, they deserve that after an undefeated season.
Definitely. It's tough to see them get into that playoff picture, obviously. That's just too far of a jump, I believe. But I would like to see them get up into the top 10, like you said. Is there any scenario that Ohio State gets in?
It's going to be tough. I think Oklahoma has to lose. I think it's going to take Oklahoma losing, and then the committee says that they're better than Oklahoma, who beat them, and that they're better than Alabama. Maybe that chance, but I just don't see it happening right now. They're probably going to be 7, 8 when the rankings come out. I just don't see them really making that big of a jump to get into the Final Four.
Is Miami in with an ACC championship win?
Yes, yeah. If they take care of business against Clemson, Miami will get that 2 or 3 seat, I believe, in the playoffs.
So hope is still alive for those Hurricane fans out there. You go out there and take care of business against Clemson, get in the playoff picture.
Yeah, I mean that's really for any team. Just go out there and win. That's the best way to get into the championship game, and then let the cards fall where they may. Who knows how the committee's going to vote? I think Alabama's interesting. I mean, a strong argument could be made for them that they're the best team in the country, but they don't have. They're not playing in their championship game. They didn't win their division. So, I mean,
after that loss this weekend, Josh, it's still hard. It's hard for me at this point to say they are the best team in the country. I mean, I don't feel like their quarterback is one of those elite quarterbacks you need to be considered as one of the best teams in the country.
That's true, but put them up against any team that's in the playoff picture right now, and I think Alabama's the favorite.
It's hard to beat a good team twice.
True.
It's football. I've been watching it for 40 years. 40 years.
All right, Josh. NFL's Week 12 is in the books, and it looks like the big story of the week once again, probably for the second or third week. The Eagles go to 10-1. The Eagles are still flying high with the 31-3 win over the Bears.
Man, they took care of business on that one. Offense looked really good. Defense looked sharp. Really, coming out at the only concern was they fumbled the ball 3 or 4 times, which is kind of unlike them. But anytime you can turn the ball over that many times and still win 31-3, that's huge. The defense held the Bears without a first down in the whole first half. So, I mean, they were just locking them down. What can you say? Just a huge win for the Eagles.
Yeah, well, it was the Bears. I mean, that's a good win, 31-3, but it was the Chicago Bears, so don't get too excited over that one.
Come on now. The Bears have beat a couple good teams this season.
I mean, you do have Wentz still playing at a very high level. I think he had 3 touchdown passes. So, I mean, when you got Wentz playing that good, you got LeGarrette Blount running the rock. Plus, you got 3 solid receivers that he's throwing the ball to with Jeffries, Ertz, and Aguilar. Plus, they have a very stout defense. So, everything's mixing well for the Eagles right now, and it looks like you are on a roll. You've won 9 straight. So, take these wins when you can get them.
Definitely. We're going to have to do that. We'll talk about it here in a few minutes, but they've got a tough matchup coming out this week. Now, the game of the week, though, was the Saints and the Rams game. These were 2 teams that were surging. They've been playing some really good football here. Saints have been on a 8 or 9 game win streak coming into this game. Rams, they took a tough loss the week before to the
Minnesota Vikings.
Okay, it was to the Vikings there. But they kind of rebounded in this game. They come out with the victory there, 26-20 over the Saints.
Yeah, Jared Goff once again looked impressive. The Rams have been, the Rams probably had to be the favorite to take on your Eagles. I mean, with their defense and the way their offense moves the ball, they've got to be one of the top teams that could really, give the Eagles a good game. Now, the Saints were without 2 of their top cornerbacks in this game.
That definitely hurt them.
Crawley and Lattimore, so that could have played a big part of that victory right there. But, who knows? Maybe that'll be different later on down the road, possibly in the playoffs. These 2 teams could meet again. The Rams did also play without their top receiver, Robert Woods, so it forced Sammy Watkins to really step his game up. So that might be, a blessing in disguise for the Rams right there.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the one thing I did take away from the game is the Saints have a playmaker in Alvin Kamara. I mean, this guy running the ball, catching the ball, he's got a gear that a lot of guys in the NFL just don't have. It kind of makes me wonder how he was at Tennessee.
He was at UT.
and didn't do any better than he was. I mean, he was okay there, but I don't think they used him enough. But, yeah, this guy is a playmaker. Drew Brees knows when and where to get him the ball. He's a scary weapon to have there. And then Ingram's running the ball good this year.
Definitely. They've got the two-headed monster with Ingram and Kamara going on right now. So we definitely mentioned that last week. These two guys are they're trouble when they've got the ground game going. Saints are really tough to stop. What it allows Drew Brees to do is not throw the ball 30, 40 times, 50 times a game. So he is getting a little age on him now, and that kind of showed up Sunday. Took about 3 sacks. Looked a little slow at times. So definitely the two running backs are helping him out.
That's right. And the Saints are going to need that. They got to keep on rolling. They're in a tough division. Carolina's got a good record. Falcons, looks like they're resurging a little bit here. They're getting it together.
They're still in the mix.
But, yeah, like we said, Carolina's got that good record, but they got challenged a little bit this week with the Jets.
Yeah, so the Panthers and Saints, they are going to meet this coming week. So that is a big game. They're going to be playing for first place in the NFC South. Panthers had a big win. They did get a big fumble return by Luke Kuechly and a punt return late to help kind of seal that victory, but that was against the Jets. So they're going to really have to turn it up a notch. I just don't see Cam playing at his peak level right now. I thought as the season went on, he would kind of come on as far as his timing with the receivers, but with the loss of Kelvin Benjamin and a few other receivers, the injuries, it just seems like the timing and they're just not all clicking together as of yet. So I think Cam only threw for 168 yards. Just a very mediocre performance by him and that Carolina offense, even though they did get the win against the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to do a little bit more. I think the Jets gave that game away in that one. The Jets could have easily won that game, so Carolina's going to have to step it up. We'll have to see if the Saints get their DBs back on that. That would be huge if they end up having them for this game. But definitely one that we'll have to watch there.
One injury that came out of that Carolina game, Greg Olsen, I think he went down again with that same foot injury that he had surgery on earlier in the season. So I think the MRI came back negative, so that's good. So he's probably going to be day-to-day this week. So hopefully he'll be back on the field this week.
Some other injuries that were on the field there. Wide receiver for the Raiders, Amari Cooper. He got a concussion. I think his ankle was hurt there a little bit, but he's going to be entering the concussion protocol, probably out next week. Anything else caught your eye on the injury front?
Yeah, C.J. Beathard, quarterback for San Francisco 49ers, went down with a knee injury. So that did give Jimmy Garoppolo a chance to take the field, and he did move the offense down the field, which concluded that drive in about a minute and a half, which did conclude that drive of about a minute and a half, which was all that was left in the game. He ended that with a touchdown. So
that's the next Joe Montana for the 49ers.
Maybe Jeff Garcia.
Okay.
But no, he did look calm in the pocket. I mean, just in the 2 plays that we saw him drop back, moved well, looked calm, delivered a nice ball to the end zone there for a nice touchdown pass. So
is he going to be getting the start this week or?
It is possible.
Okay.
I think Shanahan's going to make that decision by Wednesday. So, I mean, like we said earlier, it's no rush to get Garoppolo in the game. We're not, vying for a playoff position or anything like that. So let's just kind of take it day by day and see what the best decision for our ball club is right now.
One other quarterback that never misses a game, on that Thanksgiving game, Matt Stafford, he had an ankle injury on a touchdown pass that he threw. He finished the game out, but he says doesn't look like it's going to be any problem for him. He's expected to be playing in Week 13. He's definitely an Iron Man.
Oh, yeah, Matt Stafford's not missing any games.
Make the ground shake.
All right, Josh, we got Week 12 power rankings. So what are your top 5 teams after 12 weeks of NFL football?
Pretty much the same teams that I had in there last week. I think the Saints drop out. So I've got number 5, the Rams. After they took care of business against the Saints, they fill in that number 5 spot. Number 4, the Vikings. They're 9-2 on the year, playing really well. They beat the Rams the previous week there, so Vikings are doing what they need to do. Number 3, the Steelers, another 9-2 team. They're locking it down. Looks like they're going to be on prime time for the rest of the year here.
Yeah, for about the 10th straight game.
We've got the Patriots there at number 2. They're 9-2 atop their conference there. It's going to be a good battle between the Steelers and the Patriots, I think, in the AFC to see who comes out of there. And then number 1, the Eagles, after, what is this, about the 4th or 5th week, they're at the top of the playoff.
Yeah, I think the Eagles have held that spot for about at least the last 4 weeks, 9 straight wins, so y'all are playing decent.
That's for sure. Now, Trav, what's your top 5 looking like?
All right, I got to go with number 5. I got to put Pittsburgh at number 5. I just feel like they're squeaking by in too many of these games, and that's what they do a lot. They kind of play to the level of their competition. So after that 31-28 win over Green Bay, they did win, but just letting Green Bay do way too much when you're supposed to have the vaunted Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So I got to put you at number 5. Number 4, I put the Rams there at 8-3. They did get back on track after a loss to the Vikings last week. Number 3, I got Minnesota sitting at 9-2. They've won 7 straight. They did have a nice win on Thanksgiving Day over Detroit, 30-23. Case Keenum still balling out, so I got them at my number 3 spot. At number 2, I've got Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. They're sitting at 9-2. They've won 7 straight as well, coming off of a win against Miami, which could have been a trap game. Miami is known to play the Patriots pretty tough at times. So I got to give that one to the Patriots. They're also 5-0 on the road, so in the playoffs you got to be able to win on the road. Number 1, I give it to your Eagles at 10-1, won 9 straight. They're just the best team in the league right now, whether it's throwing the ball, whether it's running the ball, and on defense. So got to give it up to y'all right now.
We appreciate that. So let's keep it that way. Like we said a little bit earlier, it's going to be a tough matchup for them. Let's look ahead maybe this week, week 13. Got a few games marked down here. I'll go ahead and jump into that one right now. We got Philadelphia traveling up to Seattle. That's going to be your late Sunday night game there at 8:30. It's a tough place to play. They've got the 12th man. Russell Wilson, tough quarterback. He makes it tough on any defense. So we'll have to see how the Eagles do on a tough road test.
Yeah, I basically build that one as Wilson versus Philly's pass rush. So you know how elusive Russell Wilson is. So can that Philly defensive line contain him and keep him in the pocket? He's slippery back there. He just gets away from everything. So then you're going to also have to look at Philly versus that physical Seattle defense. Can Carson Wentz and those receivers, can they, get off of that tough man-to-man coverage and defense that Seattle's known to play? Yeah,
catching a little bit of a break. A couple of them are injured right now in the Legion of Boom, so it's a good time maybe to be playing Seattle if there ever is a good time.
Another big matchup, we got New England at Buffalo. So this is a big AFC East matchup. Buffalo, they do play really well at times. They are coming off of a big win against Kansas City, who's kind of going in the wrong direction. So can they keep it going against New England?
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be a tough matchup there. Could get cold weather, so we'll see how that goes. Minnesota's going to be taking on Atlanta. Minnesota's rolling. Atlanta's offense the last 3 or 4 games is starting to really pick up. We'll see how this one goes. I think Atlanta really needs this win just to keep pace in their division and also in the wild card race.
Yeah, can Matty Ice and the Atlanta Falcon receivers, can they outmatch this Minnesota defense that's been playing so well? And, Minnesota's on a 7-game win streak, so I don't think they're going to be wanting to get that broken anytime soon.
Yeah, these are a couple games that aren't, too sexy to watch there, but Houston taking on Tennessee, Indianapolis taking on Jacksonville. The Titans need to win that one, and Jacksonville both need a win in that game just to, stay at the lead in the AFC South.
Definitely. Another big matchup I had marked, Josh, I got Carolina at New Orleans. This is for first place in the NFC South, so you already know what this one's about. Cam Newton needs to come out and play well against New Orleans defense, and is New Orleans going to be able to continue running the rock like they've been doing against that Carolina defense with Luke Kuechly at linebacker and Charles Davis and all those guys? So this is going to be kind of the Saints' bread and butter against Carolina's bread and butter. So should be a good matchup.
Right. Really what it sounds like to me is starting out on Friday with the Pac-12 championship game. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're going to have some good football on TV. Go ahead and clear your calendars. Don't really make any plans. If you've got a honey-do list, something like that, just ignore it. This is the one weekend you want to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, cancel all those work Christmas parties, all those ugly sweater parties. Just stay at home this weekend. Don't go to any of that stuff.
All right, if you tuned into this episode, if this is the first time that you've ever heard us before, this is probably what you've came here to listen to. We were lucky enough to sit down over the holidays there and speak with Keith Mister Jennings, kind of get reminisce a little bit on some of his history at ETSU, in the NBA, and then what he's doing right now. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this interview.
We've watched this next guest lighting up the mini dome. He spent 3 years in the NBA with Golden State and remains a fan favorite with Warrior fans. He's 5th all-time on the NCAA career assist list. He finished out his professional basketball career overseas, where he won league MVP honors as well as a league championship. Guard from Culpeper, Virginia, it's Keith Mister Jennings.
Keith, we want to welcome you to the If It's Sports podcast.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Well, we wanted to get our listeners caught up on what's going on with your career after the NBA, after being overseas playing there. But we would be remiss if we didn't take a look back at some of the high school and ETSU days.
All right.
Yes, a lot of that is still in the memory banks. Very, very stuck there. Really good for me.
Good.
All right, mister. It's easy to look back now after you're an All-American, 2-time Player of the Year, 3-year NBA veteran. Was it true that ETSU was the only D1 school that offered you a scholarship?
Yes. East Tennessee State came in late in the game my senior year. Up until that point, the only teams that were interested were Emory and Henry and Virginia Military Academy. I mean VMI. Okay. They expressed some interest, but they never offered me a scholarship. And East Tennessee State was the only one that offered me a full scholarship, and of course that's where I decided to go, and the rest was history.
Oh yeah.
That's a really good history too there. Now,
yeah, not bad.
Not bad at all. Now this is like the late to mid 1980s when you're finishing up high school. With the way that recruiting has changed, if you were coming out in today's game, would a player of your skill level be overlooked like that, do you think?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, if we had the recruiting tools that these young athletes have today, I think people would have taken my numbers very, more seriously than they did. I'm coaching now and been coaching for the last 9 years. You get emails on the daily about players that are interested in your college and your university, and they got video clips attached onto it so you can really just recruit from your desk as opposed to having to drive 6.5 hours to go see a 5'8", 5'7" point guard,
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely makes a difference, and I think a lot of the young athletes of today are definitely taking advantage of it.
And I don't think these young guys right now, they understand. I mean, if you wanted to get video out there, it was on a VHS cassette, right?
Oh, yes. Yep. I think right towards the end, right towards 87, 88, when I was coming out, I was thinking DVDs was just about to come out a little bit.
Right.
But, it was still the cassettes, the VCR cassettes.
Oh, yeah, mister. Well, it definitely worked out the way it was supposed to work out with you heading out to Johnson City. The city of Johnson City really embraced the team and yourself. I remember ETSU used to take tours of Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia in the preseason, and you guys really had the whole region behind you. As a player, what was it like to have that level of support behind you and the team during those 3 and 4 years there?
I mean, it was incredible, man. I mean, I'm sure we owe a lot of that to Calvin Talford. Him being from that area, being from the Southwest Virginia area, and knowing that they probably haven't seen since him or probably ever will see again anybody that is as athletic as he was. And, once we were able to get a guy like that in our program at East Tennessee, it just took us off to a whole nother level. I know fans like to watch exciting basketball, and at that time, shooting the three and dunking the basketball a lot. Only the major colleges were doing that. But next thing you know, you see this little school out of Johnson City throwing alley-oops and dunking and scoring all these points. We turned some heads, and it was definitely a fun atmosphere to play in. Those fans in Johnson City always, the more we won, the more people showed up. So we knew we had to keep that going, and we did, and it was just a fun 4 years for me there.
Oh yeah, it was a great 4-year career. You guys were on ESPN with clips there, like you say. You changed, kind of the way that some of these small schools are looked at. During your time, you played in the tournament 3 years in a row at ETSU. And as a fan, we were all fans of that team. Me and Trav both went to high school at Castlewood, so as soon as Calvin went there, we were tracking that team every game. Our school would shut down when you all had a game that was on TV.
Oh wow, yeah.
But
I think a lot of us got that support from our family and friends. I think it was a great feeling for us knowing that.
Oh, definitely. Now, as a fan looking back there, with those tournament games, I know that Iowa game is one that's hard for me not to say what if. But now that your playing days are over with and you look back, is there any of those games that you just say, what if Greg and Calvin weren't hurt that game, or the Oklahoma game, it was a 1-point game?
Yeah, I mean, not the Oklahoma game, because we did have everybody then. We were just young.
Right,
we were just all sophomores and freshmen then, so we really didn't have the experience, or we didn't have anybody on our team that could give us any direction on what to look for. But definitely my senior year, going into that tournament without Greg and without Calvin, oh, man, I definitely can say what if we would have had everybody then, because, we were 28-4 going into that tournament, and getting a 10th seed was, that wouldn't happen today. Anybody that wins 28 or 27 or 28 games, you're probably going to get a seed closer to your region, which will, definitely put things a little bit better for you, considering how the Cinderellas can appear. So yeah, definitely that my senior year, not having Greg and Calvin, and we only lost by 3.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm almost sure if those two play, we win that game by at least 15.
And that sets up a big match against you and Duke, I believe, that year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that would have, that definitely would have. And Bobby Hurley, I know how good he was playing at that point, and I just didn't get a chance to play against him. But when we played against each other in the NBA, yeah, I pretty much felt like it would have been the same way in college.
Oh, yeah.
I hear you.
Definitely. Mister, was there like a certain point during your college days when you thought the NBA might just be within reach for you?
Oh yeah, I mean, it kind of started happening early, because we were fortunate enough to play against some really tough teams that had really nice point guards. And I think my sophomore year when we played Syracuse and they had Sherman Douglas, who was the all-time assist leader at that point, I had a pretty good game against him, and they were saying he was going to go in the first round. So I was like, oh, okay, well, at least it could be a possibility that I get a look from someone, because I felt like I shot the ball better than all of them when it was all said and done. And then finally getting the chance to play against Kenny Anderson, another person that they were talking about big, and Chris Corciani through our league, and Elliot Perry. Yeah, I ran into some good guards that, they were going to get a shot at the NBA, and I was just hoping, the same thing would fall for me.
Right. Well, we know that you've been asked just about every possible question about your ETSU days over the years. But if there's one story that you just wish someone would have asked you that you could tell about those days at ETSU?
The one story that I guess out of all of them that jumps into my brain would be like my junior year, we took a trip to Hawaii. And I think that trip brought us together in a closeness to our team that we still have today. I mean, even though we didn't win the Chaminade tournament over there, we had a great time. Like I said, I think guys started understanding just playing against some of the more, talked about colleges. We were competitive with them. Besides coming home and getting blasted by UCLA by about 40-something. I mean, that just happened. That didn't happen anymore after that game. But, yeah, I think that trip, and we just had a fun time. Oh, man, it was just one of our classmates was from was from Hawaii, and once he found out we were coming over there, he picked us up, and we just went riding around on mopeds throughout the island, and we were just hanging out after games. It was just a great time, and I think it really brought us together, and it set forward for a great finish of that year, and just got us really ready for that next year.
Nice. So sounds like that was definitely a good memory for you.
Your man Calvin, he was like a speed racer all the time anyway, and first time being on mopeds, I was a little nervous, but he was like a moped king, and he was getting close to me like he was trying to make me wreck, and I was like, "Stop playing, Calvin!" He just laughing his little wicked laugh. I was like, "Man,
that sounds right."
Calvin
that sounds right.
I always told Calvin he could have been a NASCAR driver if basketball didn't work out, and if baseball didn't work out. NASCAR was his calling. I'm telling you.
He definitely likes his cars now.
Yeah.
Mister, we both actually just finished your book here, the Basketball Chronicles. Yes, sir. The Basketball Chronicles of Mister Jennings. We'll definitely put a link up on the on our page and our show notes, so some of our listeners and your fans can get a copy of that. One of the things that I noticed at the end of your book there, one thing that stood out, the Delta Center in Salt Lake. That was one of your top 5 arenas to play in. I picked that because my summer league career started in Utah, and so just being on an NBA court for the first time, was a great feeling, and when I was going through those tryouts back in those times, I was just taking everything in because it wasn't a lot of small guards in the NBA, and I just didn't know if I was going to be able to come back to this arena, So
right.
I was really out there early, getting shots, out there late, getting shots, just really, and it turned out that I had a really good summer league there, and then it turned out that's where my first NBA game was at. So nice. I felt really comfortable shooting in there and playing in there, and, that was the reason why that was probably one of my top arenas.
Okay.
I definitely can understand why that place would hold a special place there in your heart then with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mister, I'm a basketball nerd. I love all aspects of the game. So as I was reading your book, one question that I had was, your first year, you went overseas and played in Germany, I believe, and then came back after you impressed some eyes there with the Warriors. You did a rookie camp and a veterans camp. Is that something as a player that you're doing on your own dime, or is there like an agreement with the team over the summer league and veterans camp for some type of compensation?
Oh yes, that was the NBA is big business.
Right.
Unless you was like right there in the neighborhood, transportation and everything was paid for. So and like I said, everything was like through trial and error with me. I didn't have anybody tell me what to look for. So when I got invited to the summer league and I played well enough in the summer league, and Coach Nelson came and sat beside me and told me he was going to invite me back for the veterans camp. I mean, I was just excited as, wow, this must be another step closer to, my dream coming true. And, like I said, it was, they flew me. I went back home and continued to work on my game, and then they flew me back in. And I mean, the difference is, if you're a draft pick, you're in first class. If you're a free agent, you're economy. So I came in with Spreewell at the same time, and of course he comes out of first class, and they got a limo waiting for him, and I come out of economy, and I got like one of the younger guys on the totem pole picking me up in his car, his Honda. So I quickly understood the difference in a draft pick and undrafted. So, but the organization was super. They still made sure I had everything I needed, and it was just a fun opportunity back then.
Now, here at the If It's Sports Show, we're definitely a fan of people that are 1 out of 10 to do certain things, and you're 1 out of 10 players under 6 feet tall to play in the league for 3 years or more. The odds of that are just unreal. Now, as you look back on your NBA career, was it everything you thought it would be growing up playing on the playgrounds of Culpeper?
And don't take this the wrong way, but I was a basketball player, so I just loved to play the game.
Right.
So to make it to the NBA, it wasn't enough. I wanted to be able to play. I wasn't just comfortable sitting on the bench and not getting the opportunity. And that's probably one of the – I don't know if I would change it and do it differently, But that was one of the reasons I went overseas and flourished and had a really good overseas career, because I got to play. In the NBA, if you're playing behind Tim Hardaway, the minutes is kind of scarce, so you don't really get to show everything you can do in 10 minutes or 12 minutes or 15 minutes a lot of times. And that was just it was just the point of, do I want to stay in the best league and not play as much, or do I want to try to create a legacy for myself elsewhere and see how it goes? And that was a conversation like every summer with my dad. My dad would be, Mister, you going to try out for, another look in the NBA this summer? And I was like, nah, Dad, I think I'm cool overseas. I'm making pretty good money. I'm playing a lot of time. I think, if somebody really wants me and they're going to give me a nice guarantee, I think I would consider it. But other than that, my dream came true. I played in it, and, it was just ready to move to the next thing after that.
That's right. That's a good segue into our next question that we had. You spent multiple years in Europe. You won an MVP over there. Tell our listeners a little bit about the competition level that was in European basketball when you were playing there.
I played against quite a few pros over there before they came over to the States. The one I remember the most is Tony Parker. I caught Tony when he was like 17, 18 years old, before he went to the Spurs his rookie year. And once that happened, I could see playing against Hedo Turkoglu. There was he was with Orlando Magic. He was a young guy over in Turkey.
He could shoot the ball.
Actually, yeah, exactly. 6'8", 6'9". They were saying he was going to be like the next Penny Hardaway, or the European Penny Hardaway, so to speak. I remember Manu Ginobili. I played against him over in Italy before he became a big star over there. So, yeah, it was the competition. It was pretty good. I was always thinking that European players at some point were going to catch up to the NBA guys, because, just coming to the States and playing against the best, when you can take that, your know-how and the things you've learned in the States back to your own country, sooner or later, you're going to start giving your teammates some confidence, and, some good things could possibly happen. But, the bottom line was the best league is definitely the NBA. And, playing over in Europe, though, I did some things that, I was very proud of. And, when I started my career over there, I didn't know I was going to be on the all-decade team in France, certain amount of years later. Yeah, from 97 to 07. They just flew me back over last May. They had like an all-decade team, and all the people all the people that played well, that were recognized. I remember Michael Young came back. Okay. I don't know if you remember him, but he played at Five Slammer Jammer back in the day with Clyde Drexler and those guys. And he was a big-time player over in Europe, and a couple other guys that got nominated also. And so, yeah, it turned out to be, France was a point guard's league. I played for a great coach who allowed me to, really take control of the team. And once I got my teammates to believe, because like you say, you see a smaller guy, they looking at me like, let me see what this guy can do. But then the next thing you know, it's like I'm killing them in practice, and they starting to understand, okay, let's get the ball to Keith. So it made my job a little bit easier over there. But definitely some great times over in France. I was fortunate enough to be an all-star in all of those countries. I was one in Germany, one in Spain, and one in France. And actually, I won the three-point competition in Spain, and I was two-time player of the year in France. So, yes, the career over in Europe turned out to be pretty good, and had a lot of fun. Made a lot of friends over there, too.
Nice, man. Now, you definitely had a stellar professional career, Keith. Now that you've left the game, you've been doing some coaching on both the high school and collegiate levels. So when you were young coming up, you definitely had a plan. You had a dream of making it to the NBA. What are some of your plans that you've got in sight for your coaching career?
Well, right now, I'm very pleased and thankful to have the coaching job on the women's team at Leeds McRae College. And I'm just going to see where it goes. If this happens, if this happens to be the only spot that I get a head coaching opportunity at, and if I get to make it happen for the next 10 or 15 years here, then I'll be prepared for that. Mm-hmm. But if this program, if I can help build this program into something special, and someone wants to give me an opportunity at another, at somewhere else, then I won't be afraid of it. I mean, ultimately, I would love to coach in the NBA. Being on that level and watching the best play and being one of the best is it's easier to watch than any other level.
Right.
So I would definitely wouldn't mind that. But to be coaching here or to possibly coach overseas, that's definitely something that's in a vision of mine.
I definitely can understand that, and being down there at Lee's McRae, that's a beautiful campus that you're on right there. Not a bad place to be for 10 or 15 years.
Nah, not at all, especially once you get used to the snow. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
From a business standpoint, is getting a coaching position, a head coaching job, comparable to making a team as a player? I mean, there's only so many spots that are available. What is the competition level like for that?
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely competitive, and I guess when you got the resume that I have, I just felt confident that at some point, the opportunity would present itself, and I thought it would have happened a little bit faster, but we all know it's not on your timing these days. It's it's when God's gonna have it happen, and you just got to be patient and wait for it. And when you get your opportunity, my thing was to try to make a difference both on and off the court. And now that there's opportunities to come here, just getting these young ladies to believe in what I think about the game of basketball and what I want them to do and work them at it every day it's been fulfilling. It's something I look forward to every day. So, I'm going to keep going in that direction, and hopefully we'll surprise some people. And we got picked last again this year, but, hopefully we'll surprise some teams, and, we'll see where it all ends up.
Well, if any of the Keith Mister Jennings wears off on those young girls, I mean, you were known for winning, so you'll have that place turned around there pretty soon.
Thank you. Yeah, they know I'm not a fan of losing. I have a bad attitude when I come into work the next day, and I think they understand.
Definitely. Before we let you go, Keith, we've heard some rumblings going around about this movie, the Forever movie. It's supposed to be about the 4 years of ETSU making the big dance. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it's coming along?
Yes, like I said, I'm a historian of the game. I understand the impact that certain people have made, whether it be Division I or, just playing in the NCAA tournament, things that I dreamed of doing as a young basketball player. And when my career was over and you sit down and I write my book and I sit down and I look at some things and I was like, I think Marty, Greg, and Calvin, might be the only ones that could have possibly won 4 tournament titles consecutively. I said, I wonder who else has done that.
Right.
And so it kind of got me thinking. I was like, well, this might be something good to speak about or write about, because as an athlete, your time comes and your time goes, and I'm far from a glory hound, but at the same time, I want people to respect what we accomplished, and if it gives anybody else any incentive that's a mid-major or low Division I that feels like things can't be done at a high level, then we wanted to show people, or I wanted to show people that I was a part of something that, that did that. So everything came into place once I just called my teammates and and told them I was definitely considering doing something like this, and would you be interested in being in it? Of course, Calvin was the first one talking about, where my money at, man? Where my money at? And I was like, you should have thought about it before I did. You should have thought about it before I did. But other than that, they all have been super wonderful as far as working with my director and producer who's putting everything together. We got some great appearances from like Coach Robinson and Coach LaForce and Coach Peterson and some coaches that we played against,
nice.
Just trying to get some insight of how they felt they had to deal with us as far as us stopping a lot of teams from winning championships during that time. And, some of these coaches felt really strong about their team. So, and then plus, the Buck brothers, we're really still close after all of this time. So we just wanted everybody to know that, the championships came, but the brotherhood still remains. And hopefully it'll be out around March, right before March Madness. And, hopefully we can make something big out of it.
Oh, well, definitely. When that movie gets ready to come out, we hope we can have you back and maybe do a little bit more promotion on it. That's I know this whole region around here would be super excited to see something like that.
Yes. No doubt, no doubt. We'll give you guys a special in-depth interview with Calvin and Marty and Greg, the main ones, and myself, and then the guys that I came in with. Yeah, we'll do something special for you guys if you guys would like.
Oh,
Nice.
we would love that.
Appreciate that.
And we've already got marked down, I believe, sometime in January, maybe the middle of January there, you're taking on King College, which is in close to our neck of the woods. We hope to make it over there and watch you coach a little bit.
Oh, great! That looks. We know that's going to be a tough one for us, one of our rivalries. But I think our girls will hopefully be ready to go up there and play well. That's the thing. I think with my team right now, I think confidence is something that they're starting to get. Because, for me as a smaller player, somebody they can look in the eye and walk around like I feel like we can do anything, I hope that rubs off. So, we're looking to see how it goes this year.
Well, wish you nothing but the best of success. Mister, thanks for joining us.
You.
And we really appreciate your time here.
Definitely. Thanks, Mister.
No problem, guys. Anytime. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with me. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving like I did yesterday. I need to get in here and do some running myself the way I ate.
Same
But,
thing. Ate way too much.
I'm 49 a little bit. I guess I could put on a few pounds. I mean, it's not the same.
Man, that was a great interview, Josh. Really good to hear from the man, Keith, Mister Jennings, and hearing everything, all his stories from back in the day, and bringing us up to date on what he's got going on right now with his movie and everything like that.
Yeah, it was, man. Before we did that interview, I got on YouTube and found the actual whole game there for Oklahoma and watched it. And it was just so hard to watch that because every little turnover, every missed layup or anything like that, you knew what the outcome of the game was. And I was just on the edge of my seat still. Those were some great teams when I was younger, when we were both younger growing up out there. Really enjoyed those.
Definitely.
College basketball, I guess we'll just roll right into it. It's pretty exciting right now. We've had some big matchups. We had Michigan State over UNC in the PK80, the Phil Knight tournament that they had up there. That was a good game.
Yeah, that was definitely a big game. Michigan State came out with the win in that one. Another big game we saw was Florida versus Duke. Florida ended up losing that one, 84-87. They actually gave up a 17-point lead late in that game with about 10 minutes left. Duke came back for the win in that one. Bagley put in 30 points and had 15 boards in that one. So just a very impressive come-from-behind win by Duke in that one, even though I hate to say it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a tough one. Duke is the one team I like to see lose. So when your team or my team, the Gators are taking them on, it would have been so sweet to have a victory. I kind of pulled an old man on this one. That game was supposed to tip off at 10:30. It didn't get started till about 20 after 11. I got to watch till halftime, and then I couldn't make it anymore. But Florida had a big lead in the first half, and Duke came charging back. Grayson Allen, Trent Jr., both of them hit some big threes. Bagley was a beast inside. And then, I kind of read afterwards and saw some highlights. Florida did pull out to that big lead, but Duke came back there. It looks like this Duke team, they're young in some places, but they do have some veterans on the squad as well. They're going to be a tough team to deal with. And it's got them right now at the number one spot on the AP poll.
Yeah, that AP poll did come out, and so you do have Duke sitting there at number one. You've got Kansas at number two, Michigan State sitting at 3, Villanova Wildcats at 6-0 sitting at number 4. And then a surprise to me, we got Notre Dame at 6-0 sitting at number 5.
And then giving those Gators a little bit of respect for the way that they played in that tournament, they're coming in at number 6, Kentucky at 7, Wichita State there at 8, Texas A&M at 9, and Miami rounding out the top 10.
Speaking of Kentucky, we got to see them in a little bit of action against the University of Illinois Chicago, who they beat pretty handily, 107-73. But what really stood out to me was the play of the UK freshman guard, Hamidou Diallo. This he's pretty explosive. I saw him take off down the lane a few times and just really brought the house down on some dunks in that one, yeah.
Give me that name one more time.
Hamidou Diallo. He's a point guard out of Queens, New York. Had
Nice.
some show-stopping dunks in that one.
Writing that one down.
Yeah.
Yeah, one team that we don't see in the top 10 there is Arizona. They were number 2 the previous week. They had 3 bad losses this week to some, mid-major teams, some smaller colleges, and they dropped all the way out of the AP poll. I don't think I've ever remember a team being number 2 and then falling out of the AP poll in the same week.
It's a pretty far drop.
Yeah, and one thing else that's happened this week that I really hadn't seen too often was that Alabama-Minnesota game. Did you get to catch that?
Yeah, I did see some of this. Alabama actually finished that game with just 3 players on the court, and actually they only lost by 5.
Yeah, Minnesota had a 13-point lead when all this happened. There was about 11, 12 minutes left in the game. A little altercation on the floor, and then the Alabama bench, pretty much all of them stepped onto the floor. They got ejected. So that left them with 5 players. Within the next couple minutes, a player fouled out.
Another player got hurt, I think.
Yeah, twisted his ankle. He wasn't able to finish the game. So, they played for about 8 or 9 minutes with just 3 players. They cut it down to a 1-point
what's that
lead.
considered? Is that a 3-man zone?
I guess. I mean, it's going all out is about all it is. And, they were just coming down the court and firing, and one cat got hot. He had about 33 points, and then you could just see that last minute or so, though, they was completely wore out. I don't know. That's something that you just don't see every day.
No, I've never seen that.
It's still going on. We've got the NBA. It's kind of hard to get into the NBA right now with so much good football that's on TV. But, the Boston Celtics, their winning streak came to an end. They had a 15-game winning streak. They've kind of rebounded a little bit, though. They're still 18-3 on the year.
Yeah, that was a streak that came to an end with the Celtics there. They're still playing good. They're still there. Another team's playing good right now, Cleveland Cavaliers. They are winners of 8 straight games. They did have a win over the Philadelphia 76ers tonight, 113-91. They are playing without D. Rose, who has left the team to see if he wants to continue his basketball career.
Yeah, he's banged up a little bit. I mean, I guess that's just the story of D. Rose's career. After he won the MVP award, he's just been hampered by injury after injury. Such a talent, and he's one of those guys that you're probably going to look back and say, what if with? If he could have stayed healthy, he was a very explosive guard back in the Chicago days. But right now, he's just so banged up. I don't even know if he wants to keep on playing. So we'll see if he comes back. LeBron is having to shoulder a lot of the load right now. He's playing heavy minutes. I mean, LeBron's always played heavy minutes, but this is in his 15th, 16th season in the league there. It's going to start taking its toll. So, I mean, they've got to start helping him out a little bit. This team really needs Isaiah Thomas to get healthy and get back.
Yeah,
They're probably not going to see him till the All-Star break.
Yeah, Josh, like you said, LeBron's got a lot of the weight on his shoulders right now, but I think it is forcing him to step his game up, and you're really seeing that right now without Kyrie on his team and without the help of Isaiah right now. So LeBron's really stepping up and doing his thing.
Yeah, so, after we finish up the championship weeks here and after it rolls on there, we're going to start getting a little bit deeper into the NBA. That was just kind of a quick recap of what's going on in the NBA. But let's get over to one segment that we like to have on this show here. It actually may feature a guy that used to be in the NBA.
Dummy. You big dummy. You big dummy. You big dummy. You big cold-blooded dummy. You big dummy. See what you did? Oh, no, you big dummy. Oh, no, you big dummy.
All right, Josh, so our big dummy of the week this week is going to go to former NBA star Ray Allen. He says he is a victim of catfishing. So basically, he has been catfished by Bryant Coleman. Coleman has pretended to be a number of attractive women that were interested in Ray Allen. The curveball in this story is that Bryant, the guy that was doing the catfishing, has actually taken Ray Allen to court for stalking.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so not only did Ray Allen get catfished, he's also been accused of stalking. So come on, Ray. You can't be online doing this stuff, man. You got a wife at home and kids.
You big dummy.
Our second big dummy, or big dummies of the week, we got to give it to Aqib Talib, defensive back.
2 Chainz?
We got to give one to Aqib Talib, defensive back of the Denver Broncos, and we got to give one to my man Michael Crabtree, former wide receiver for the 49ers, who now plays for the Oakland Raiders. And in the game this weekend, as soon as they walked on the field and matched up against each other, they took it back to some Friday for us. So there was some conversation heard in the locker room of Crabtree actually trying to fix his chain before the game.
Debo.
Tough line in.
And then we heard some of his teammates talking on the field there.
Man, that's messed up. Won't you give him back his chain?
What chain?
Yeah, what chain?
Now, after the altercation, microphones were able to pick up Crabtree as he was leaving the field.
Man, my grandmama gave me that chain.
He gonna cry in the car.
So we got to hit Crabtree and Aqib Talib with the...
You big dummy.
All right, Trav, that's pretty much going to wrap us up this week. We've got to give a big thank you out to Keith Mister Jennings.
Definitely.
I really enjoyed, like we said, sitting down with him. It's just something that we hope to look forward to doing again. Anything else you got this week?
No, that's about it, Josh. Just go ahead and get on out of here, man.
Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed the show, please help us out with a subscribe on your favorite platform. To find all listening services and social media accounts, check out our website, ifitsports.com. Select the Listen to Podcast link from the top menu.
The If It Sports hotline is open 24/7. Just leave us a voicemail with your contact information at 276-415-0029. We'll be sure to get back with you on information how you can be a guest on our show. And remember, if it's sports,
we're talking about it.